Welcome to Frank Teaches DevOps. All right, my lovely viewers, it's been it's been a while. We we embrace this space. So in today's video, I shall be discussing how to set up ElasticSearch, AWS ElasticSearch service on AWS. It's actually called OpenSearch service, all right? AWS OpenSearch service, all right? There's OpenSearch, there's also ElasticSearch. So in this video, I'm going to be walking us through the process of setting up an Elastic search cluster on AWS and how to access the Elastic cluster externally using port forwarding, SSH port forwarding. All right. When I so this is the architecture. This is the architecture. All right. So I'm going to explain the architecture. After I explain the architecture, the moment I start the deployment, you'll get to understand every bit of it. All right. So this is it. This is the heading: setting up AWS Elasticsearch and accessing the Kibana dashboard within a VPC-enabled ElasticSearch domain. Now, there are two kinds of domain. We have public access domain and VPC access domain. So we shall see when we get into creating the cluster. So the public access domain is readily available, all right? It's readily accessible anywhere externally, okay? But the VPC enabled domain is only accessible within the VPC, meaning that the endpoint, which is the Kibana endpoint or the Elasticsearch endpoint, cannot cannot be accessed externally. All right, you can only create a port forwarding. You can only set up a port forwarding, an SSH port forwarding, which we are going to see in a jiffy. All right, so this is my architecture. So here is my cloud. I have AWS cloud, and in my cloud, I have set up my Elasticsearch cluster. All right. So once this Elasticsearch cluster is being set up, it's going to create for me two endpoints. One of the endpoints is Elasticsearch, and the other endpoint is the endpoint for the Kibana dashboard. All right. Okay. Now, ordinarily, without this part, without let me circle that. Oh, sorry, undo. Without this part, okay, which is local PC, EC2, VPC, you can't access the Kibana dashboard externally. All right. So now, for we to be able to access the Kibana dashboard externally, we are going to create an EC2 instance. Okay, so we're going to create an EC2 instance and make sure that the EC2 instance and your Elasticsearch cluster uses the same VPC, runs on the same VPC. Both the EC2 instance and Elasticsearch must run on the same VPC, right? Once that is achieved, then you come to your local machine. You come to your local machine and create an SSH port forwarding. All right, we're going to show us briefly. So let's start with first on our item. First on the item, sorry for this. First on our item is one, create the Elasticsearch cluster. So let's go straight into creating the Elasticsearch cluster. Let me open this a bit. All right, so create the Elasticsearch cluster. So I'm going to hop onto my AWS account. All right, okay, so I'm going to click on what I'm going to search. Let's search first. Let us search first. Let's search. I'm going to search for open search. So this is the service. All right, this is the Elasticsearch service. So double click on it. So double clicking on it is going to open BAM. All right. So now I'm going to click on what? Create a domain. Okay. So click on create a domain. Then here we can give it a name. So let me say Elasticsearch demo. Let me call it Elasticsearch demo. All right. So now the deployment type is going to be obviously development and testing. We're just playing around. Now the version of Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch search on AWS. AWS search has two kinds. It has OpenSearch. It also have Elasticsearch. So if I open here, I will see OpenSearch as well as Elasticsearch. Right. So either of the services would give you the same result. So I'm going to take the latest version of Elasticsearch, which is 7.10. All right. So auto tuning is enabled. Um, Data nodes. Okay. By default, it uses three availability zones. All right. So AWS says it's recommended for production workloads with higher availability requirements. Okay, so that's fine. Instance type for the purpose of testing, I'm going to use R6G. Okay, number of nodes is three. Since my availability zones is three, I'm going to take number of nodes three. Three. Sorry, what was this? Three. Then storage type is EBS obviously. General purpose SSD. I just want to keep it at 10 gigabytes of size. So let me look at advanced settings. There are not much on that advanced settings. So I'm going to scroll. Now this is the main part. This is the main part. Now there's a VPC mode and there's a public access mode. The public access mode is just easy. It's very straightforward. All right. So I don't want to go to the route of the public access mode. I want to go through the route of the VPC access. So we'll see how complex it is to set it up. Okay. Now I'm going to, and this is the same thing that AWS recommend using what? The VPC access. So I'm going to select my VPC. My VPC is this. This is my VPC. Right. Then I have subnets. I have three subnets I've created. Subnet 1, and they're all exposed to the internet. Subnet 2 and subnet 3. I also have a security group, which is this. All right. Great. Now, for fine grained access control, I don't need a fine grained access control. So because for fine grained access control to require me to create a lot of policies back and forth. So what I would do is I will just put that off. I don't need the fine grained access control. Okay, that's that. Then I'm going to show us something briefly. Okay, domain access policy. Okay, domain access policy. Let me keep it there. We show us something. You're coming. Require HTTPS for all traffic to the domain when enabled. Blah 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 blah. I don't need all of these. Use AWS own key. I think that's all. That's all. All right. So click on what? Create. So the moment you click on create, we should see the creation window. All right. Here comes the creation window. So the creation of the Elasticsearch cluster takes time. It takes time. There about 5 to 10 minutes. It takes a lot of time. So for that, I will be pausing the video, and once it's done, we will be right back. All right, thank you for your patience, and we are back. So you can see the domain creation, the cluster creation is successful and is complete and it has gone green and it's also active. So if I check the view details, these were all successful. All right, so let's go back to the domain level. So this is it. So this is the Kibana URL, which is VPC accessible, and this is also the Elasticsearch endpoint. So if you check on our diagram, here's our cluster. We have two endpoints now: Elasticsearch endpoint and Kibana endpoint. So if I go back, so this is the Elasticsearch endpoint and Kibana. So if I open these two, it will never open. It's not accessible because it is within the VPC. All right. So great. So this is gonna time out. All right, so let's go to, we are through with this first phase. Let's go back to our diagram. So the next phase is now is to create an EC2 instance. Okay, so let's come back to our task. Create an EC2 instance within the same VPC as the Elasticsearch cluster. So your Elasticsearch cluster with your EC2 instance must be on the same what's it called? They must share the same VPC. All right. So they must share the same VPC. So because of time, you know how to create a EC2 instance. I'll be pausing the video and create the EC2 instance, and I'll be right back.
So I finish.
Okay, all right. Let me just show us this phase how to create the EC2 instance. It won't take time. I pray. Let me call it E uh, Elasticsearch EC2. Okay, Elasticsearch EC2 is based on Amazon Linux. All right, is this is the latest T2 Micro. Then the key pair, I have a key pair already, which is Frank Dev key. Okay, then the network settings. Edit the network settings. Come over here. It has to be on the same VPC. That's key. Subnet. I'm using subnet. Let me use subnet. Subnet 2. Okay, automatic public assigned public IP. Security group. I have an existing security group. It's called Frank SG. Okay. Network, that's fine. The size is this, and that's all. That's all. So okay, and launch the instance. Okay, successful. View the instance. View the instance. Let's refresh this. So here comes the instance. It's in pending phase. Okay. Okay. All right. So back to our diagram. So we have created an EC2 instance within the same VPC as the Elasticsearch cluster. So this has been achieved. All right. This has been achieved. So the next part to this is on my local machine. On my local machine, I want to create an SSH tunneling to the EC2 instance. Now look at it now. Port forwarding from local PC to EC2. So I'm doing a port forwarding from this local PC to the EC2 via SSH. So this is what is going to happen. Let's see if we can access our instance. Let's do that. Let's access it. Great. This will go direct. Let's see. Our EC2 instance must be up and running, establishing connection. Let's see. Okay, great. So my EC2 instance is working perfectly. Now, let me close this page. Close this page. The next thing we need to do now is third on our list. Third on the list. Go onto your local PC and create a SSH tunneling. All right, SSH tunneling. So now I'll go on my local PC. So this is my local PC. This is my local PC. All right. So this is my local PC. Now I have my key already. So which SSH? This is where is that key? Where is that key? Go to instances, EC2. So I have my key pair. This is my key pair, Frank Dev key. So I'm going to copy that key pair into my .ssh. So copy is on download. Copy Frank into .ssh. So that's all I need to do. That's the first step. Now I will change directory into .ssh. Now check the listing. I have what? Frank key, my .pem key. All right. So I'm going to create a config file. So I would say vim config, call it config. So inside of this file, I'm going to define my port forwarding. my port forwarding parameters. So let me put this, let's just call this elastic search tunnel. Now the first line on that tunnel is host. So host is what? The host name. Sorry, no dot please. ES tunnel. So this through this host, through my local host, I'm creating a tunnel to the EC2 instance. All right, it's just like proxy. Thank you. This is proxying from my local machine to the EC2 instance. So I'm using the EC2 instance access to access my Kibana dashboard. So right, my host is this. Then the host name will be the public IP to my EC2 instance. So my EC2 instance has a public IP. So here's my EC2 instance. Copy the public IP, come over here and paste that. That's all. Come down. The next line is user. Since we are using an Amazon Linux, so the default user on Amazon Linux is EC2-user. All right, great. Now identities only. There's a keyword, identities only. We say yes. So identities only is yes. Then file identity file. So you need to specify the path to your .tem file. So the path is my home slash dot ssh slash. Let me copy that file. Here's the file. Copy the file. Then go back to your Vim. All right. Then paste the file there. Okay. Great. Now the last line is local forward. So local forward, I'm forwarding locally through ports 9200 to, all right, the EC2 instance 9200, because both Elasticsearch and Kibana is going to be using that port number 9200. Then I'll now come to my cluster, my domain. Yes, my domain, right? I'll copy. This is what I will do. I'll copy this up till here, up to VPC. I'll copy the domain endpoint. All right, copy the domain endpoint and paste it. Paste it colon 443. That's all. That's all. So escape, save, and quit. So the next thing I need to do now is to run my SSH tunnel command. SSH minus capital N, then the name of my host, which was defined in here. So the name of this host is ES tunnel. So it has to be SSH minus capital N, then ES tunnel. So this is all you need. So the moment you hit this, you're going to ask for the fingerprint. So you say what? Yes. So once you say yes, it's going to hang in there. It's hanging that in there. So once that's hung there, it means that there's now a connection between there's now a connection between, let's the diagram. There's a connection now between my local PC and my EC2 instance. So I'm now I'll be able to access my Kibana from my local machine. So let's go there and see. So I'll come back here. I'll click on this endpoint, click on it. So it's hovering, okay. All right, so let's see what's happening. It's not coming up. This should be security group. Let's go to the security group. Security group. Here's the security group. Edit inbound rules. Add a rule. Let's say if I open 9200, 9200 to everywhere, just for testing. Let me see what happens. 9200 to everywhere. Let me see if that would fly. That's supposed to fly. Sorry. It has to be local host. All right, to access these endpoints, you can't access this endpoint directly. All right, so to access the endpoint directly, let me close this guy. You have to use localhost. HTTPS colon dash dash localhost colon 9200. So if I hit enter, it's not coming up. All right. Okay, so let's go back to the 9200 is not working. So let me just give it all traffic. So if I give it all traffic, we shall work around this. I save it. Okay, come over here and refresh. Okay, so you can see now it's not coming up. It's not coming up, but however, we are having a permission denied. Where is it coming from? User anonymous is not authorized to perform blah 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 with an explicit deny in the resource-based policy. Okay, so I know where this is coming from. So let's go back to our cluster. All right. So here's our cluster. So what I need to do is I need to edit the cluster information, right? So if I go to security configuration, you'll see that in my policy, there's an explicitly denying, right? So I need to change this from denying to allow. So what I will do now is I'll click on edit. So to give me, I'll go down, I'll come here and I will say allow. Okay, to protect domain with public access, blah 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 blah. Okay, once that is done, click on what? Save. So the moment I click on save, let's see. Okay, it's been successful. It has been updated. All right. Okay, it's still processing. It takes some time. So if I come back to my, what's it called, my local host 9200 and I refresh, let's refresh. Great, you can see. So at this point, I'm now hitting on my Elasticsearch endpoint. So this is my Elasticsearch. So it's returning some data, or I'm getting something from Elasticsearch, from the cluster itself. Now, for me to access the Kibana, here is the Kibana endpoint. All right, I just need to append underscore plugin with at the end of this. So let me duplicate this as well. Duplicate this and let me just append slash there. So that is it. So hit enter and voila, it opens the Kibana dashboard. All right. So it opens the Kibana dashboard. So this is how you create the how to create an elastic AWS Elasticsearch cluster. After creating the cluster, then how to access the cluster within VPC. Access the cluster within VPC. So here it is. Set up an AWS Elasticsearch. Access Kibana dashboard within the VPC-enabled Elasticsearch domain. I hope we've been able to um, do we've been able to let you know about how these things work, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And in our next video, we shall see how to to stream data. All right, to stream data from, we could use VPC flow log. All right, VPC flow log to stream data into Kibana and thereby also creating index. So if I go here, so here it is. If you guys, everything is empty. So if I go to index management, it's empty. There's nothing we can do here because no data has been coming, no index has been coming as well, has been introduced. All right. So this is what you have originally. What is this? Indices. All right. So by default, I'm supposed to have once it's here, I'm supposed to see something. If I type asterisk, nothing is not nothing is displaying. All right, nothing is displaying. All right, nothing is being displayed. So we need to create that. All right, the flow of data into Elasticsearch so that it will be forwarded into Kibana. I hope you've enjoyed this session and thank you for your support. Please like, suggest, put your comment, suggestion, and share. Thank you, and see you in our next episode. Frank teaches DevOps. Peace. So
Oh, it's fast that.
just to wrap it up, so you can see we can now from our local machine we can access the Elasticsearch endpoint as well as the Kibana endpoint. Thank you guys. And then don't also forget about, okay, this is still hanging, it will be there. The tunnel is there until if I terminate it, if I say Control C, it's gone. It's gone. I won't be able to get this again. So it's gone. Can you see now? You can see. Even this is also gone. All right. Until so just don't forget this is the config file that creates that SSH tunneling. All right. All right. So if I open the tunnel one more time, it's up. Then I refresh. Everything should be back. You can see everything should be back. So thank you immensely. Thank you guys. Thank you, and then see you in my next episode. Bye bye.